The Super Series should not be declared completely dead yet. But the energy in the room when I talk to my sources is basically, I don't see how they can launch this. And welcome to Broken Silicon, a gaming hardware podcast. I am your host, Tom, and this episode is brought to you by JLC PCB. New customers can get a $70 coupon below, and also CDkeyoffer.com, where you can get Windows 11 Professional for just $24 during their super Christmas sale. And how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm fine. I can't complain. I mean, I rode my motorcycle for a while today. It's sunny out. I was going to do a live stream actually with you while you were visiting Nashville for Thanksgiving last week, and I decided a couple of things. Number one, I am exhausted and I want a week off for once. In fact, if you think about it, even when we went on vacations this year, I tended to put out Zen 7 leaks, and it doesn't really feel like I've been taking time off. So I did, and I feel quite rested actually for the first time in a while. And I think it will benefit the backlog of leaks I will now be loading up this episode with that I was able to accumulate while I was out. And one of them in particular, as you'll see, was worth waiting to talk about because, I mean, it's actually a much bigger deal than initially expected. Not to mention, if we were going to do a live stream where I leaked some stuff and talk to you about it, what would we have done on this? Is also what I was worried about when I canceled.
We just do this episode twice.
Yeah, like we would just talk about the recent news. Like I think having like a Christmas or Thanksgiving end of month live stream where you're with me works really well. If the next episode is like a guest or we're going to talk about something that we won't talk about the next time. Otherwise, I just worry we would have had duplicate broken silicons. And one of them, when most people are off, unlikely to click on it, and thus that would just hurt the views of the next one.
Because and also like what we wanted to do it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So that probably would have been like, I don't know how many people are going to be catching the live stream while flying to wherever they're flying to or driving, wherever they're driving to. Maybe some, but it would worry me that only like 200 people or 300 people that would be pretty low.
We'd be watching it live compared to over 1,000 or something. Yeah. And then there was another consideration I had, which was you were supposed to get in like Tuesday early on a flight. And our parents were driving down from Minnesota to Nashville. And then like the airport you were going to route through had a grounding of all of its flights. So then I wasn't going to see you sooner. And then my parents were going to have to leave sooner as well because they wanted to avoid a winter storm coming. So I also realized, my parents are getting in sooner than I thought they would. You're getting in later. I'm going to have a more compressed amount of time to see you before you have to leave before we initially thought you would. And so it's like, well, I might as well not work during the limited amount of time I have to see you guys as well. In fact, I even thought about doing a live stream on Friday after you all left. And I was just like, I'm still just tired. I don't really care. So, but that was also why it's just like, I mean, I wanted to see you guys because the amount of time you were going to be here was compressed and / early. And so it made sense for me to take off work earlier than anticipated.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is this Thanksgiving was a bit short comparatively, but, hopefully it'll be longer next time around. Because I was only there for, I think, 2 full days this time. But, things happen.
Anyways, we're back, and we have a ton to talk about this news cycle. Bespoke exclamation point writes in and says, Dan, welcome back from Space Camp.
I'm glad I'm back from Space Camp. I'm not sure why I was at Space Camp, but
your background.
Oh, sure.
Although I will say, this doesn't really make sense. That comment was meant for the live stream. I actually pulled. What I did is I froze the reader mails that patrons can submit. And of course, you can join Moore's Law on Patreon to submit questions for live streams. I pulled some of those from that and put it into this episode because I thought it would make more sense. And I've frozen that. So if you're a patron wondering what happened to that reader mail request for the live stream, I still plan to do one this or next week. I will reopen it. And I've deleted the ones I pulled for this, as you can see. And I've left the ones that I didn't use. So that will reopen up and we will still use all of those. Carbon Cry writes in, he says, night walks are goated, aquariums are too nerdy, and real chads collects fountain pens. I assume he collects fountain pens. I got to say, Carbon Cry, that's actually one of the most nerdy things I've ever heard.
It sounds nerdier than aquariums, but maybe that's because I like living things more than pens. So I just like looking at fish, shrimp, and also I'm left-handed, so fountain pens are a no-go for me.
Yeah, in fact, Carbon Cry, I think Dan, do you feel targeted here?
Is left-handedness a disability? Because I think that was ableism.
Yeah, that was ableism, Carbon Cry. Be best.
Be better, at least.
Be better, if not be best. Let us move on now to corrections from the goofy reader mails. AI-generated fish writes in and says, Tom, I have to correct you on the last Broken Sailcon. You spoke about the sales of the last Assassin's Creed game. When they were speaking about sales being above expectations, they were talking about the back catalog. Ubisoft's financials are so bad that they've actually halted trading to cover up a debt covenant breach. Yeah, I double checked this and you are right. AI generated fish. I stand corrected.
That is not good.
No, it is not. Again, I think when it comes to Assassin's Creed, because I've actually briefly played, I mostly got the game for benchmarking, but I briefly played Assassin's Creed Shadows. It seems like an actually quite above average Assassin's Creed. I just still feel like there's a malaise on that series, and that they
probably because it's woke. No.
No, I think it's because there's too many of these games. And frankly, if that game would have released 5 years ago, before Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotai were out, I think it would have been significantly better, because at this point it kind of feels like a worst Ghost of whatever game, right? What is it? And I believe Assassin's Creed games sell best on PlayStation compared to other platforms. So the platform with the best game in that time period with similar play style is also the platform that you depend on the most. So I think there's a lot of things going against Assassin's Creed Shadows in that regard. But I stand by, there was a short-term boon in making Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla have so much user-generated content, but a long-term dearth, and that there's no reason to get other Assassin's Creed games because these ones, or because there's enough content in one of them, or I think people just got burnt out from how much was in those games. There should have been higher quality and less stuff. And I just think people got burned out by those two games. That's what I think is going on.
Yeah, and it does seem like, I don't know, it does to me seem like, and I guess I still need to go and play Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotai because I haven't had time to play either of them yet. But I don't know, from what I've seen of Ghost of Tsushima, it really does feel like in a lot of ways, this was Sucker Punch's evolution on the Assassin's Creed formula to some extent anyways. So like having the teams that make Assassin's Creed go and base it in a very similar setting to what you have in the Ghosts games. I don't know what they're calling that series.
It's not the same setting, right?
I said similar, but yeah.
Like Ghost of Tsushima, which I played a little bit of, is in like a Mongol invasion period, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is, well, the TV show Shogun. It's just straight up that, basically.
Okay, so I guess that would be what, 400 years apart, right? So
still, the gameplay is probably very similar.
Yeah,
the setting is similar too.
Yeah, but it's not quite medieval. It's like early industrial versus like, I don't know what you would call. I'm not a Japanese history expert.
In terms of gameplay, though, I bet at a macro level in real life, the combat was different. In a video game, I bet the combat's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can have a game set in 2300 or 1945, and the gameplay is relatively similar too.
Yeah. Fred Borger writes and says, Tom and Dan, I want to offer a correction on the environmental impact of hydroelectric power. While the emissions of such power generation are negligible, there are significant upfront environmental costs and downstream effects. Concrete curing produces CO2. The structure itself can flood areas around rivers as well as impact wildlife significantly. Too long didn't read. Hydropower good, but it isn't an infinite money glitch good.
That's fusion energy is the infinite money glitch.
Oh, I'm sure there will be no downsides to that as well.
None.
I will also add on to this. There was not a patron that submitted this, but I did see several YouTube comment on us saying, is there anything wrong with geothermal energy? And they said basically no. Like, so people in Iceland said, no, geothermal power is kind of an infinite money glitch, with the downside that you only get that glitch if you're next to a volcano that can kill you.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And so I don't know. I thought that was a funny point. It's like, oh, right, yes, but you have to deal with the fact that there are legitimately lava flows and CO2 explosions from the volcano. And that's not good for the environment. And so, although you're not causing it, it's like, yeah, in a way, you're almost just making up for the fact that that volcano is producing tons of CO2 and making your life hard. And you get this money glitch because of that. But you can't say there's a downside to it so much as you're making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it will like slow down the Earth's rotation or something like that. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but
to which I believe the last time we talked about that, we joked about the movie The Core.
Yes, or I was going to say the documentary film, the TV show Futurama, I believe, had a plot point about that at one point. Although I think it was something with cats harvesting the energy of the Earth.
But anyways, I will say we are over 10 minutes into the show, I believe, and this is supposed to be a gaming hardware podcast. So let us move on from talking about Assassin's Creed and hydroelectric and geothermal power. It's not hardware. And it's probably good that we were a bit light with our opening discussion, because the next couple stories suck. So let us move on to the first sucky story, with story number 1. OpenAI is hoarding RAM and kicked off a DRAM crisis. All right, here's the write-up. Ever since memory prices started skyrocketing this year, we have received several worrying leaks from our sources regarding the unprecedented collapse of the DRAM market. And as a result, on November 21st, we broke the story of OpenAI's attack on the memory supply chain, combining what our sources told us with information that was public, but in our opinion, underreported, into a cohesive overview of the events surrounding OpenAI's massive DRAM deals, with SK Hynix and Samsung, and the panic these deals caused. This is what happened. This is why DRAM prices are skyrocketing right now. Now, this reporting we did, which there is an article form, by the way, and a video form, links in the description. I highly recommend you read the article or watch the video, as it is pretty exhaustive, and there's no way we can touch on every little point that was in that, or this will just turn into the whole podcast is talking about that. But yeah, watch that or listen to the article. We could use AI to read it to you. Maybe you could probably watch the video or read the article. But long story short, here's the summary. SK Hynix did not know OpenAI was making a massive RAM deal with Samsung, and Samsung didn't know that either. So you see, this scale of the deal took both of these parties by surprise. Yes, one of them knew that their deal was big, but they didn't realize someone else was doing the same type of deal, and therefore, in total, 40% of global RAM supply was about to be bought up. So this shocked these major companies, but it shocked other companies even more. And this, therefore, drove a buying frenzy, as everyone wanted to secure years of DRAM needs today, and they were worried there were more secret deals going on. You see, the day the big Samsung and SK Hynix DRAM deals with OpenAI were announced, no one knew this was coming because of exhaustive NDAs. And I guess OpenAI did a good job keeping this a secret. Because of that, if you're someone like HP, I don't know, or one of OpenAI's competitors, you woke up that day, saw this deal, and went, well, we didn't know about those deals, and they were that big. What else do we not know about? And then everyone just bought up all capacity. And so it's gone. The capacity is already gone, everybody. Now, on top of all this, it doesn't even seem like OpenAI knows what it will do with its RAM yet. It bought unfinished wafers, an unprecedented deal where they did not pay Samsung and SK Hynix to finish these wafers into sticks or HBM stacks. No, they bought undiced wafers, have put them in warehouses, and will presumably finish these into what they want eventually. But the fact that this was done so quickly, to throw them into warehouses before they know what to do with them, tells me this was about depriving their competition of supply just as much as it was about securing their own supply. Oh, and this was all made significantly worse by the fact that the market was not ready for this compared to any other year. You see, there was less safety stock than usual due to RAM prices going down over the summer of this year. They were dirt cheap, and because they saw because companies saw lower RAM prices month after month after month, why would you buy up a huge stockpile of RAM if you see it going down? And then on top of that, issues caused by the Trump tariffs also made people think they would be an idiot if they bought up a bunch of RAM right now. Prices are going down. There could be extra import fees. So let's wait to see if that ends, the Trump tariffs, and then we'll buy up all the RAM when it's even cheaper. But none of them did that in time, so there was no safety stock. On top of that as well, there is usually when Samsung, for example, upgrades their RAM manufacturing facilities, they will use the latest manufacturing equipment so they could make faster RAM, lower voltage RAM, new types of RAM, in addition to the old types as well. And they will take their old equipment and sell it off. And often that is sold to budget Chinese manufacturers. Because of a fear from a backlash from the Trump administration, additionally, these Korean companies were putting their old manufacturing equipment that would normally be sold to budget brands in warehouses, collecting dust. So also there was less of a cycling and creation of more capacity than there normally would be. Again, no safety stock, no extra capacity like there usually would be. Then OpenAI causes a panic. Everyone buys it all up. And as a result, the DRAM market is basically non-functioning at this point. That is the scale of the disruption, the scale of the issue. Now, to the effects, the smaller you are, the more you are screwed. Giants like Sony, Dell, or HP have their own stocks in memory. That is why you see the PS5, by the way, getting price drops on Black Friday. Apparently, Sony is not worried in the midterm, and they can actually afford to drop prices on the PS5, while Microsoft, from what my sources told me, and I reported this in the leak, cannot do this. Yeah, that's basically, so that's basically all there is to say. I mean, there's a whole S through E tier list. Watch the video, read the article. It tells you which products are most screwed first. Obviously, most screwed is RAM. Least screwed is anything that doesn't use RAM. In the middle, I tell you which graphics cards or whatever will be screwed the soonest. Now, I will say, though, I might have to accelerate that list by a quarter for each thing. The order of the list is the same, but maybe remove a quarter from it, because I talked to a source on the phone today that told me that already they're hearing about HP, Asus, Dell probably jacking up prices. Well, they are already, and that by quarter one, laptop prices may already be screwed. So honestly, even though I put PlayStation, I think in what, like B or C, I think C tier, so almost not screwed. Probably get a PS5 now if you want a gaming device for next year and you don't have anything modern yet. Additionally, I can confirm the AMD price increases for graphics cards are definitely coming and will continue to roll out. And also the thing about Nvidia unbundling RAM from their BOM kits, meaning that short-term Nvidia prices will be better than AMD. But honestly, in half a year, it's probably all going to be screwed. So Dan, what do you think?
I think I talked about this on the die shrink last when we recorded, but
which we did do a dedicated die shrink reacting to this as well, everybody, if you want more in-depth coverage as well. Join the Patreon.
I started out when I got my new motherboard. If people remember, it's that
Minis Forum.
Yeah, Minis Forum. I couldn't think of the company for some reason. It's that Minis Forum, like one of the soldered on 16 cores that their laptops.
A laptop CPU that performs like a desktop chip, but just uses less energy.
You're making some sacrifices, obviously, but it's such a good form factor that if you don't, and I think if people don't plan on doing an upgrade, it's definitely worth getting. But I started out with 16 gigabytes and I upgraded to 64 just because, like,
and when did you specifically do it, by the way? Didn't you upgrade, like,
I think I did in
September?
May.
Oh, it was that long ago. Okay.
I'm looking at it right. I bought them in June. And I bought them in June anticipating like that RAM prices might go up because of tariffs. And oh boy, I'm glad I upgraded that back then, because or a similar kit, because the one I bought seems to be discontinued for one reason or another. But a similar kit would cost about a little more than twice as much as I paid for it 6 months ago, I think. So very glad I did that. A while earlier this year, I thought it was a pretty damn good time to build a PC or buy RAM. And now I'm worried that this panic buying cycle we're in that was started by OpenAI, I'm worried is really going to screw every market for the future, for the time being. And like, I don't know. I'm nervous that this is going to get to like 2021 levels of unavailability. Like, I guess I don't know ultimately what all products are going to be affected by it. Like, obviously the things that have been affected so far is RAM is just skyrocketed in price overnight seemingly, but I don't know all of the knock-on effects it's going to have. Like, who the hell knows if like everything that uses RAM just goes up in price by, I don't know, like $50 to $100 or something in the near future, which we might be going from one of the best times, in my opinion, to buy a PC in the past, since 2020 easily, maybe even before then, to one of the worst times.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I have seen dozens of comments, both on the Moore's Law Discord, the Patreon, and on YouTube, and on Twitter, of people saying, Tom, don't worry. I built my PC in the summer because you and Dan all year have been saying prices would go up in Q4. So I guess this is we were right, but I will say it is we didn't know we'd be this moment. Right.
No, we were 100. We knew this was going to happen 6 months ago, Tom. We're patting ourselves on the back. We're taking a victory lap. We provided good PC buying advice.
No, but we did.
We did. And worse than we even predicted.
And what I will say is, it's time for us to stop saying that. This happens where I feel like we almost forgot to stop saying it maybe a couple months ago because we were so used to saying now is a good time to buy. And to be fair, some things like CPUs and some Nvidia GPUs are still now is a very good time to buy. So it's not like everything is completely screwed right now. But I will say, if you missed building a new PC, you missed it. And I would recommend you wait unless there's a very specific reason you need to build like right now. And if you do, frankly, what I would recommend is you do look for those minis forum motherboards that we recommend over and over and over. I'll put a link in the description to one as well. Because if you get that minis for a motherboard that uses laptop memory, maybe you can find an old laptop on eBay for like $100, an old laptop, maybe in your closet that you're not using anymore, or just who knows, you can find these things. And I think you should just consider getting, if you can secure that is a way to get around these issues. Buy an old laptop with DDR5, not too old, but actually DDR5 is decently old at this point. Pull that RAM out, get a minis for a motherboard, put that in there. That's kind of probably the last cheat code, you will, to being able to build a good build right now if you need to. That'd probably be like my outside the box advice. Yeah,
and I don't. I mean, tell me if you disagree with this, but like, it might be a bad time to do a full new build right now. But obviously, individual parts will vary, and I think it's still, at least for the time being, it seems like it's not a terrible time to like get a new graphics card if you need to get one. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's the best.
Depends on which one. AMD is already going up.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I was going to say. This might be the last time to get a decent graphics card for an okay price for the foreseeable future. Like, I'm just looking it up. Like 9070 XTs right now are only a bit over MSRP, so that's not terrible. Like, and yeah, I mean, it seems to be like a similar story with like 5070s too. So I don't know. Right now seems like an okay time to buy a graphics card if you need to get one, and I would imagine those are going to go up in price a lot soon too.
Yeah, and again, just to give people an idea, how bad these prices have gotten. When I made the video, which came out like 4 days before the article version of this report, I'm pulling it up now. I bought the current RAM kit. I still have around here. It's over there. I'm not going to go get it. For like $129. By the time it arrived, it was worth $196.
Jesus.
And by the time I wrote the article 4 days later, it was worth $330. And now it's $335 or something as of this recording. So like, I had to change. The article version is a little different than the video version because things had already changed 4 days later. Like, that's how insane this is. Like your RAM kit may double in price on the way to you.
It's like that joke about the Weimar Republic. Like, hey, Dad, can I have $10? $10 or $10, $20? What do you mean you want $50?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
All right, let's keep the sad train rolling here with story number 2. OpenAI DDR5 store buyout leak. So I almost leaked what I'm about to tell you right now last week in a live stream, but as I've already covered, that was canceled and pushed back. Actually, we'll have a new leak for that one. That's very exciting, and take live questions as well. But again, like I said, it slowly dawned on me that this thing I was about to report on was bigger than I initially thought of it as. And so I decided to give it some time to, I don't know, breathe in my head, if the way I put that makes sense. But first, let me read the initial quotes from a couple of sources here. So the first source here, I'll have Gerard put this on screen. After watching your OpenAI video, it occurred to me that and this is a major RAM supplier contact of mine, should tell you about something else outrageous going on with OpenAI. Apparently, OpenAI employees have been spotted at numerous retailers physically trying to buy up as many RAM kits as they can this month. No joke, I've been told this in calls with buyers who work at multiple large retailers. Now, I took this person who had a handful of data points on this sort of stuff, and I went to another source who told me this. Yes, I have seen something like your other sources described. This week, some guys came into our location, major US retailer, and they asked if they could speak to the manager about buying up all of our DDR5 kits above a certain capacity level, I'll say. Luckily, our boss only allowed them to buy up a handful of kits. Also, we asked them who they worked for, and they said an enterprise LLM company, and refused to say anything more than that about their employer. Now, since then, I've also had a couple of phone calls over the weekend, and yeah, I can confirm that I have at least around half a dozen sources in retail and DRAM manufacturing that insist this is going on. Specifically, it seems like OpenAI is walking into, and these stores were mentioned by name, Best Buys and Micro Center, and trying to buy up all these 64 gigabyte or higher capacity kits. I assume that means 2 times 32 gigabyte. Now, what's odd is that you would think they would want ECC memory. This is pointed out by contributor to Moore's Law, Kerry no Sugata, but they're not. They are buying gamer kits, not ECC memory kits, which you'd usually want for AI, for your training LLMs. So this tells me a few things. Number one, they think it's better safe than sorry to literally just buy up everything. Laptop memory, gaming desktop memory, whatever, just in case they can find a way to use it over the next 2 years. 2, they also might have the controllers for an ECC kit, but not the modules, and plan to take these, unsolder these from the kits and make new kits themselves, maybe with whatever factory they're spinning up or partnership they're spinning up to use the undiced wafers. And 3, I'm sorry, this to me tells me it is still partially about depriving the market of RAM is what's going on here. Let me say it again. It's not just that OpenAI is buying up 40% of the world's DRAM manufacturing capacity. Right now, they are also allegedly buying up every physical RAM kit they can get at physical brick and mortar stores. I say allegedly because I don't have physical proof I can share. All of my sources were way too scared to share that. But I will use allegedly, but multiple people I trust, some of them saying OpenAI was mentioned by name, others saying they just would say enterprise LLM and not admit who they worked for. And so there you go, everybody. If you're wondering why RAM prices continue to skyrocket even after the deal's been made and everything was bought up short term, it's because supposedly also OpenAI is just going around and physically trying to buy up RAM they find.
Yeah, I don't know how much to add to this, just because this is almost baffling to me. Is there enough
That's
RAM?
Why I keep it as allegedly, unless I have 2 receipts I can share. I feel like I should keep it there that way for legal reasons, but I believe them, and these are people that got me other accurate leaks.
Where's OpenAI based again? Are they in Washington or are they in California? I guess it doesn't really
I don't
matter.
remember.
But
no, good point though. Let me look. Keep talking.
Part of me wonders, to me, okay, they're in San Francisco,
California,
okay,
which is notable. I will say, because I won't give specifics, but some of the sources I know are in the Northeast and the Southeast.
Okay.
So like that tells you,
it's just to me like it. Would you go to a because to me, like, would you go to send employees to micro centers and Best Buys to try to deprive the market of RAM? Or is there really like all hands on deck? We need as much RAM as possible, because that's what this sounds like to me.
I think it's undoubtedly both. And I'm sure some of these people don't work for OpenAI. Maybe they work for Google or someone else or a small.
Yeah, maybe there's just a feeding frenzy in the area now.
There does seem to be, but I will say some of my sources mentioned OpenAI by name.
Okay.
So.
Because it's just odd to me. Like, is there enough RAM in like whatever the Bay Area or however far out they're going to micro centers and Best Buys to like, one, meaningfully impact how much RAM that they can have at an enterprise scale? Like, how much is that actually putting a dent in it? And two, would other companies even think to go buy a bunch of like RAM kits out at a micro center?
I have to
without being spurned onto it, because to me it just seems like I don't know. I lean more towards like they need as much freaking RAM as possible right now for one reason or another, and they're just going in to get it wherever they can, because this going to Best Buy in micro centers to buy up RAM as a company as big as OpenAI like reeks of they're desperate for RAM right now.
I guess. I don't know. And everyone else probably is too. I'm sure some of these reports are not OpenAI, although again, multiple people mention OpenAI by name as that's what they were.
Or are they going to train Grok too, Tom, in San Francisco?
I don't know. Maybe. But and I don't really know what else to say about this, except that is how bad it is. Again, read the article I put out, listen or watch the video I put out. For specific examples, like some companies are being quoted 13-month lead times for RAM if they order it now from their suppliers. One report was that, I won't say which one, but a retailer had one of the major DRAM companies you guys would be aware of, like Corsair or G-Skill, calling the retailer to buy up their RAM back to try to fulfill a contract they don't think they can fulfill anymore with one of their other customers. Again, that'd be like G-Skill going to Best Buy and asking if they could buy up RAM. And now you have this report of OpenAI and probably, I would assume, other AI companies literally just going into Best Buys and micro centers and buying up all the RAM they can. I don't know. This is crazy. This is crazy. I think short term, this is worse than 2021.
Yeah. The only thing I can hope is that this is a relatively short term thing, and that maybe this only lasts like 6 months or something.
It's going to be at least 6, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm holding out hope for, I guess. Although, I don't think I need to buy anything, luckily.
This piece of content is brought to you by JLC PCB. Innovation starts with an idea, and JLC PCB helps your ideas come to life. With their one-stop manufacturing service, you can get everything you need in one place, whether that's PCB fabrication, SMT assembly, 3D printing, or CNC machining. Yes, from rapid prototyping to full production, they handle every step with precision, speed, and reliability. In fact, their automated production lines and strict quality control ensures your products are made to perfection and delivered in as fast as 24 hours. So whether you are a maker, an engineer, or a global hardware company, JLC PCB empowers you to turn your ideas into reality faster and smarter. So support Moore's Law is Dead by checking out JLC PCB through the link below. Yes, please do click on that link in the description or in the pinned comment, because doing so really does help show support for Moore's Law is Dead, for a sponsor that is supporting Moore's Law is Dead. And obviously, if you need their services, getting one of their products through the link below helps the channel even more. So support Moore's Law is Dead by checking out JLC PCB through the links below today. He writes in and says, hey, Tom, considering the recent explosive DRAM prices, when do you think that the prices will go down? Surely the demand and hoarding of DRAM cannot last forever, and at some point it will swing back to oversupply. Right? Honestly, I think Q4 2026 at the soonest, and I know people that think, don't want to say it, One of my sources I talked to today said that now they're being quoted 24-month lead times.
Jesus.
So I don't know how long this will last. Remember, that's them quoting now. If the bubble pops or something changes, they can adjust it after that quote. They can do that. I worked at a manufacturing company. We would adjust quotes when we could get them things early. But that means that's what, if things continue the way they are, they think 2 years. So I don't know. I was even told expect a lot of APU gaming, like a focus on Strix Halo for a lot of companies moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like a concerted long-term effort that they want to go into. All I can say is I hope that there's something that the government can do to say this is illegal. I doubt it will happen, but like
not under this administration.
This feels like it should be illegal to me.
It is starting to feel that way for sure. Yeah, there's an argument here that this is a monopoly play, right? Like just buying up all the steel. Actually, you know what there is? It's like buying up all the steel in the country and the old, oil and steel baron days in the early 1900s. You could argue it's the same thing. It's just buying up all the railroad contracts. Now you can't ship things over railroad.
Yeah, sometimes it does to me feel like these AI companies really have forgotten like that they're like trying to produce a product for a market because like, oh, look at us training all of these AI models now that nobody can use because we can't buy PCs anymore because you bought all the RAM to train your models that you're supposedly selling to us for some reason. I don't know. I don't know. It's part of why I hate these companies, but...
Well, on that note, Big Jeff B writes in and says, I wasn't exactly sure where to put this question, Tom, or maybe Dan is there too. He is.
Yes.
And it may be something that can't be discussed on a Broken Silicon. It apparently can, but it feels like an under the radar story about the AI bubble is the fact that Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, and talks of even other tech companies specifically are referring to AI have changed their depreciation schedules from 3 years for GPUs and 4 years for CPUs to 6 years for both, specifically for servers and hyperscalers. There are a couple of economists out there right now who are pointing to this as the real start of the AI bubble popping. Specifically, Michael Burry is making the claim this is exactly like when Cisco started raising the length of depreciation, which is the true mark of the dot-com bubble. Although most people have a Mandela effect and point to the joke of when everything had a website like pets.com, it actually popped at a different point in time. Do you think this is possible? And if so, how bad and wild will the market fall, considering most GPU sales in these markets are from Nvidia, most CPU sales in these markets are from AMD, with Intel flounder? No, most sales of CPU are still Intel by a large margin. Intel is not an underdog. They are still most of the market compared to AMD. So this would hurt Intel more, possibly. Yeah, I don't. Well, it depends on what you mean. But in physical terms, sales down, maybe Intel's worse. In terms of like inflated stock price, maybe it would hurt AMD more, actually. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't know what happens here too if the bubble pops in 3 months, hypothetically. I don't know. And like, is there a warehouse that everyone bids for to get the RAM and free to set the RAM free? Like I don't know. I don't know where this goes or exactly how this ends. But again, even if the bubble popped tomorrow, we are looking at a dearth of RAM for 3 to 6 months. I think at a minimum, even if it was fixed now.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess we can hope that if OpenAI somehow collapses in the next 6 months because they overpredicted how much money they would make off of this. I don't know. Maybe RAM
or didn't predict it all.
Cheap,
they won't let finance people or lawyers look over any of their.
Oh yeah, true. They're not in a publicly traded
their
company,
money.
So.
So we don't even know. We don't know if they even did the math or if they're. I mean, I think it's plausible they could just be buying everything that they can because they think nothing matters and the money for sure will just keep rolling in. And if it stopped, we don't know. Who knows?
Well,
Maybe it would turn into an Enron situation.
Yeah, I mean, if VCs just fund them ad infinitum, then sure, maybe they can just keep this going forever. The new capitalism by VC. We never make any money, but some billionaire keeps injecting $100 million into us every 2 weeks at this point. I don't know how fast OpenAI is going through money, but...
Carbon Cry writes in. He says, "This is particular to Dan. In the battle of super unpopular things, can AI get a PR win against insane bureaucratic bullshit? One of the companies I consult for tasked me with preparing them for a voluntary environmental certification." Okay, that's a funny way to put something. "This requires a ton of policies to be written up, which would take weeks, perhaps even months, actually, have little effect on the actual functioning of the company. The practical steps, by the way, have already been taken. ChatGPT just drew up solid drafts for all of those in 10 or so minutes, thus saving me weeks of brain cell killing corpo copywriting. Of course, as a proper consultant, I will bill them for those weeks of work I no longer have to actually do." Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It saves me a lot of time too with some things I've been working on. I still write my scripts 90% of the time every time still from scratch. I use it a little bit to help with the article. Although I will say I've found that I used to be a very good writer, I think. I actually scored, that was the highest I got in the ACT was my reading and writing scores.
Not me.
Yes, you're the more science brain person. And now I can still read very, very well, but the writing side of it, I realized, like, I went to write a few paragraphs for the article and I was like, oh no, I haven't done this for years. So I think I might start writing more article versions of my videos again to make sure I don't lose this skill. Idea. That's all I'm saying, Carbon Cries. Make sure you do some of this corpo crap so you don't lose that function of your brain, or it doesn't, calcify or weaken. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it helps a lot with this sort of stuff. I just think it's overvalued, right? It doesn't really cut jobs so much as save the same jobs time. Some jobs can probably be cut, but it's not like 90% of them.
Yeah, and I'm still skeptical of it. I would just
and we have reports that companies are rehiring people they thought AI could replace. So,
and I would just be worried about it putting AI slop in whatever contract or environmental certification thing you have to write. But I do have a more important question. If he's contracted to write this and the client also only reviews it by asking ChatGPT to summarize what ChatGPT wrote, is whatever is signed legally binding still?
Yeah, so if it's written by AI and checked by AI, how do we know it is anything?
Yes. Or do we need two separate AIs to fact check each other? So one is ChatGPT, and then you send the other one through like Grok or something, and it maybe not Grok, because Grok would probably put some scary stuff in there, but one of the other ones.
Mr. Tiger writes in, "Are the days of stable prices for PC parts gone? I don't think any major component for a PC has remained consistent in pricing, even adjusted for inflation, in the last 5 years since COVID. Heat sinks are up right now. CPUs went up and down. GPUs have gone up and down. Will probably go up again soon. And RAM is now an Obtanium. Where is a new equilibrium going to be? And when will we reach it?" Where is a new equilibrium going to be, and when will we reach it? I don't know, man. I mean, we're in a computing boom era, and it just, I talked to our friend, the infamous Brock, and he said a similar thing to me when I was telling him about this new leak about OpenAI I'm about to put out, where he goes, I think he said I got into PC gaming in 2015. I knew that a CPU was going to be 250 to 350, a GPU would be 400 to 600, and I could expect things to generally get better over time. And now, I don't know, maybe things will be half the price in a year or 4 times what I paid before. It just seems all over the place, and I'm just kind of accepted that's the world we live in for the foreseeable future. And I would say it's a sad thought, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that's where we're at.
Yeah, because the way I would put it is, I don't know if we're just in a new paradigm now forever, or if we just got hit by 2 waves of shit in a row, basically, with the pandemic and then a few years later, the AI boom. Because right now, if there's nothing after the AI boom and the bubble burst, I would think that we might get closer to something that we had pre-pandemic. I don't think prices ever returned to what they were pre-pandemic. But
that's the thing me and you talked about, though, or it is a thing me and you talked about, is that people, I feel like, almost forgot to check the status of things in like 2023, 2024, and they're, oh, prices are too high. Oh, I'm a pro consumer YouTuber. And prices were actually pretty good this year until now. Like they were in the summer, they were pretty good late 2024. And the more people kept, we can all complain about 8 GB graphics cards, and that's fair. But I just feel like there was a lot of every graphics card's bad, every CPU's bad, and they weren't. They were fairly priced, way better than during the pandemic. And I just worry some Techtubers told nobody, hold the line, don't buy. You guys missed the 18-month period where it was normal from 2023 through most of through, I don't know, whatever it is, late 23 through, I guess, 24-month period or something like that. Like there's about 2 years here where things were normal, and now they're not again. And that was your time. That's why we told you, buy now, buy now, buy now. Don't take the pessimism pills. And now we're telling you don't buy again. And I just hope people wake up next time, because I think this is going to continue. And it always has been to a degree. This is going to continue to be cyclical, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just think with such a boom in compute, like really you do have these companies, like they will buy they will buy as many dies as you can sell them at this point. Until we're not in something like that, I don't know, where demand is this insane. Yeah, I don't think we could ever go back to what the 2010s or pre-2010s were or aughts were like, or late aughts were like. So I think the only thing that can really happen is if the AI boom bursts and nothing happens after that. But who the hell knows? That might mean we get 6 months to 2 years of a quote unquote return to normalcy, and then some other trend or some other pandemic happens because the CDC doesn't exist anymore or whatever. Or
that will certainly not have any repercussions.
Or maybe the NIH is buying up a bunch of shit GPUs to do AI research now because that's what the government wants to spend it on now. I don't know, but yeah, like I hope that after this bubble bursts, things become more geared towards the consumer again. But I wouldn't place money on that at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't place money on anything because, like you say, who knows? Like, what could happen is in 6 months the bubble bursts, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of 5090s that flood the market below MSRP, and there's just piles of used RAM on eBay, and it's like the mining boom bust times 10 because every component was overbought, not just GPUs. Like, could that happen? Absolutely. But what I would say is I'm not sure when or if that will happen, and if it does happen, and this is kind of what I think I want to close this on, don't miss it next time.
Yeah.
Like I know that it sucks, like what's a good example? I mean, like people complained, some people were still giving the 7800 XT from RDNA 3 bad reviews. And I was like, motherfuckers, this thing is $500. It performs better than the previously $650 6800 XT. So it's a 30% increase in price performance gen over gen. At a minimum, without even taking into account the fact that the card has aged better, is now more like a 6950 XT, runs ray tracing better, I believe used less energy. Like it was quite a bit better card.
Yeah.
Like I say quite a bit. It was an overall better in every way card for 30% less gen over gen. And Hardware Unboxed, I believe, gave it good reviews. There were tech sites that gave it good reviews. I gave it a glowing review. But there were still a lot of people that said, don't buy this. It should be $400. And anyone who took that advice just missed their one chance to get reasonable prices. And so if this bubble does burst and prices do collapse and we get something like what we saw before, like, Vega 56s for $180, or whatever the equivalent of that would be now, probably, if I had to guess, the equivalent would be like, the equivalent would probably be 4090s for like $1,000. Don't wait for it to be $500. Don't miss the next cycle, because this is going to continue to be cyclical. And I think a large reason it wasn't as cyclical for about a decade was because Moore's Law's dead died. We were stuck on 28 nanometer. And so that stopped these cycles from happening as often. But now we're back to growth, and it's growth that costs a lot of money. And so there will be cycles. Take advantage of them. Don't miss them next time.
And that's why it's useful to do retrospectives too on your own priors, because if you've convinced yourself that the situation with like the 6800 XT when that came out is the same as the situation with the 7800 XT when that came out, you've deluded yourself, and you haven't noticed that things seem subtly change day over the course of 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah. We just thought there were these broken records of like things haven't gotten better. And I'm like, these graphics cards are half the price they used to be. Things have gotten better. Yeah. Don't fall prey to pessimism addiction. No. I was trying to be, what is it? The Immortan Joe? Immortan Joe. From Mad Max. All right. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore, which means we should probably move on to story number 3. AMD Radeon RX 9060 reviewed. An actually normal story for once. Mm-hmm. All right. So first the write-up, and then I will get to the editorialization, which comes from TechSpot/Hardware Unboxed. Quoting, the Radeon RX 9060 is 13 to 14% slower than the 9060 XT, 8GB model, and so it should cost at least 15% less to be a good deal, because that is what would result in a similar cost per frame. You simply need to ensure you are getting a good discount on this and not paying XT pricing for a non-XT version, as it is notably, although not insanely, weaker. And that can be difficult to guarantee with pre-built systems. So yes, there is now an RX 9060 non-XT, and it is an OEM-only model with 4 fewer CUs than the XT model. This has now finally been reviewed by Hardware Unboxed. They found it to perform roughly equivalent to an RTX 5060. The card, therefore, isn't that interesting, especially since right now it's OEM only, so you really can't buy it easy and do it yourself. But I don't know. With memory prices where they are, 8GB GPUs might make a comeback, and so it's probably worth mentioning this card, because if you were to see this pop up on eBay for $250 or $200, it is a better deal than what you would get for like a $300 9060 XT 8GB. And, new graphics card. It got reviewed. We should cover that here on Moore's Law is Dead. So I don't know if there's that much to say about this, but it is a new AMD graphics card that is technically launched.
Yeah, especially with it being OEM only, at least for the time being. There's not too much to say about it. For me, if it comes out to the DIY market, other than like obviously being on eBay, I don't think it seems, at least at current pricing that's available, I don't see it being that compelling of a card at more than like $230, which is a price that these companies seem to like sometimes, or $229. But because I don't know, looking at things right now, you can get a 9060 XT for 8GB for $275, and I would just say if you can afford the extra $25 or something, if they put it at $250, just get that, or don't waste your time getting an 8GB card. But yeah, if it's anything more than $230, $250 I guess is okay.
Yeah, and I think because $250, let me look. RTX 5060 MSRP. All right, so that's $299. I believe the 5050 is $250. That's what makes this thing. That's probably one of the reasons the 9060 non-XT is OEM only. Is it's like the 5050 is the 5050, because at this price point it's normie time, and normies tend to buy Nvidia. True. Like they're probably going to buy the 5050 for the same price. So do you sell something that's as good as a 5060 for $200? It's probably just to have an option to sell to OEMs in bulk. If it ever did come to do it yourself, though, yes, I guess it should probably be $250, so 20% less for 13% less performance compared to the 9060 8GB. I will say I would get this for $250 over a 9060 XT for like 20% more, whatever, if that's the difference, just because 8GB is going to be the limiting factor. Like we are 4060 and up, and even honestly 6600 and up in performance, 8GB often becomes the limiting factor in my experience. So,
well, yeah, and I think we've talked about that before. Like with 8GB cards, I think the thing you and I both pretty much agree on is with 8GB cards, it's get the cheapest one that's available almost at this point. Like if you're this is just for saturating, well, not even at saturating, but this is for playing like 1080p medium to high settings, I guess, at this point. So just get the cheapest freaking thing you can.
Yeah. And I will say there are some people that would go, yeah, but maybe I want the latest card and I only play older games, and so I don't care about 8GB. Well, if you only play older games, then a 7600 will play that older game probably without ray tracing
or get integrated at this point.
4K 120. I mean, because the 7600 is what? I mean, it's as fast as like a 2080. So if you're playing old games, that will play the old games. I mean, so there's really no argument. Like 8 gigabytes within reason, just buy the cheapest one. Obviously, if the 5060 was, or like if the 5060 Ti 8 gigabyte was 10% more than a 6600 8 gigabyte, yes, get the 5060 Ti. That will perform better. But you know,
once again though, if you're just playing old games, I don't know, and you don't have like a 580 or something, I get Hawk Point or something, or whatever.
Yeah, we'll see. That a lot of people might need to do that because of what's going on with prices. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's all we have to say about this card. It's not that interesting, but I thought it was worth mentioning because it is a new graphics card launch. Alan Chen writes in, "Hey, Tom and Dan, is there anything more concrete on the RDNA 4 refresh, like a on track for release, or is it canned, or is AMD still sitting on whether to release such a product?" Yes, I know. I've been asking for a few months now, basically every podcast you could put out. But hey, I'm looking forward to such a product, mate. Well, mate, I don't know what to tell you. It's not looking good. I mean, I already reported one of the leaks actually in my OpenAI reporting was that the 9060 GRE 16 gigabyte, which was supposedly like worse yields than a 9070, but then clocked to 9070 XT power usage almost to try to get you 9070 performance for less than a 9070. You know, that would have been really cool, but I've been told that's almost certainly canceled. I don't really hear any updates coming from Radeon right now on that, so I can never be sure. But from the sounds of it, a lot of these refresh products are canceled. So I just
that's unfortunate. I would love to see it, but
and it just sucks, by the way, too, because I put out this short. Right, it was a short about RDNA 4 refresh having an advantage over the Super Series because it uses GDDR6 instead of GDDR7. That's how fast things are changing. Were things to have been at where they were a month ago, that was true. Now I think, if anything, AMD's at a disadvantage compared to Nvidia. And so I know there's been a lot of hype about RDNA 4 refresh, but so much has changed in this landscape right now because of what's going on with RAM prices that I personally wouldn't wait for this. I would buy now. I wouldn't hold out any hope of an RDNA 4 refresh. Could be wrong. I just got up to my head. I don't think almost anything's coming. At least nothing you should wait for. Woody Chang writes in, it says, "Hi, Tom and Dan. I'm curious how much of the current RAM supply that is not taken up by OpenAI is actually going to become 3 gigabyte GDDR7 modules. Can someone like Nvidia even build up enough of the high capacity GDDR7 by the placeholder date of Q3? That is allegedly what they've told partners. Of next year to launch any kind of super cards beyond a paper launch. For Nvidia, there must be a calculus where it might be more worth it to save the 3 gigabyte modules for a 60 series than a super refresh eventually." Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Yeah, look, from what I was told by someone today I talked to on the phone, the Super Series should not be declared completely dead yet. It does not. It still seems like no one's saying it's dead. And there might be updates soon, I was even told. But everyone in the energy in the room when I talk to my sources is basically, I don't see how they can launch this. So I just, again, I wouldn't hold out hope for it. And considering a lot of Nvidia cards are below MSRP right now, if you want to buy Nvidia, I would buy right now.
And I don't know if this is just real smooth brain take of me right here. Like, it's not like the hottest take ever, but I don't know. Is there a chance that they would, like this shortage, they would want to kick the can down the road on the 60 series and just launch a really small, launch 60, a really
you mean RTX 60 series, not the next 6060, right?
I mean, is there a chance they would want to like delay the 60 series for like there's like a 3-year cycle between the 50 and the 60 series?
I think there is. Yeah. And I think there's a good chance. Yeah.
And they just do a short refresh to satiate the super fans with the minimum amount of RAM that they can get. Like, I don't know. Like, I could see that being the case, I guess.
Yeah, but I would just, I guess this is kind of what we're saying over and over here. So much has changed due to what's going on with DRAM that it's like, it's almost like some Xbox leaks where it's like on certain aspects of Xbox, whatever I'm hearing right now, or Intel leaks, whatever I'm hearing right now, I can't be sure that will be the situation in a few months because things might change. And so, yeah, Super Series is not entirely canceled yet, but I don't know. When I hear people getting quoted 24-month lead times for RAM, I have to wonder how that's even plausible, unless what happens is they actually delay it to like quarter
27?
1 2027, and that's because they're not launching the next series until like late 28, because that's when they think there will be enough RAM for it. Could I see that happening? Yes. But is that really an argument to wait for Super? I don't think that is. I think that's an argument to buy now if you can. All right, let us move on now to story number 4. AMD Redstone Regeneration tested in the worst showcase game AMD could have possibly picked. Quoting first here from Digital Foundry before getting to the write-up. All right, so Digital Foundry said, I guess we're not going to be doing much more in-depth testing on this thing because of a couple reasons. First of all, it doesn't seem to be the final product. Secondly, we can't. There's a lot of bizarre stuff happening here with FSR Redstone. The fact that you can't use it in the Black Ops campaign is baffling. I'm wondering if it's an art issue or something like that, but overall, it's just general strangeness. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what further FSR Redstone disclosures will happen and in what new game integrations will come along to actually get a better feel for what AMD is trying to achieve. So, yep, after a pretty solid first half of the year, Radeon seems to be rushing to get to the bonuses for their GAF quota in the final months of the year. It started with the bizarre RDNA 1 and 2 driver comments recently and continues with the Redstone launch announcement. Now, technically, Redstone launches on December 10th, but AMD also sort of launched their Regeneration upgrade to FSR in Black Ops 7. Well, kind of. You see, it is the multiplayer of only the new Black Ops game that gets this feature. The one with weird visual issues already between Radeon and RTX GPUs, as reported by Hardware Unboxed, making direct comparisons between Nvidia and AMD upscaling difficult. Overall, well, yes, slightly better in some areas. Regeneration, underlined this, in Black Ops 13, I think he meant that as a joke, Carbon Cry, is worse, with some bad issues. For one, it only seems to work for reflections, not GI, and sometimes it produces poorly denoised and highly aliased edges. So, yeah, instead of continuing to discuss the mess of the literal implementation that we've seen so far, let's discuss the potential of the technology itself for the remainder of this write-up. So, ray tracing, path tracing, these work by casting rays into the scene. These bounce like light would and transfer lighting information onto surfaces. Ray reconstruction is like DLSS for rays. Similar to how DLSS generates several pixels from one that is calculated, ray reconstruction generates additional rays alongside those that are already traced, and this is required for fast path tracing especially. AMD needs their version of this technology or they will never be able to compete with ray tracing in the latest games. And as we leaked, RDNA 5 focuses heavily on ray tracing and path tracing and wants to go for the crown of ray tracing with their massive AT0 graphics card. Ray reconstruction and regeneration is a big deal, therefore. From the Black Ops 37 showcase, yes, this is a joke, he keeps increasing the number of Black Ops every time he mentions it. We can only hope they show an actual working ray reconstruction next week. That's a funny joke there, Carbon Cry. But I will say, yeah, I mean, I saw this pop up that this was in Black Ops 7. This took me off guard. I was like, oh, maybe we can talk about FSR Redstone early. And the answer is we can, but not in a real complete way. Apparently, it doesn't work in the, this is really weird. It doesn't work in the Black Ops 89 campaign. It doesn't work in the Warzone. It only works in Black Ops is specific mode multiplayers. Specific multiplayer modes are only for Black Ops 7. I will say the correct one for that one there. For Black Ops 182. And that's it. And that version has tons of visual glitches on Nvidia and AMD right now, so you can't even really test it. So I don't know who's really to blame, but it does seem like very odd they released this at all. Again, AMD, you're not going to steal the headlines in a productive way if what you do is release something early that just gets bad press. And that's what they have seemingly done here. It's going to be important, but we're going to have to wait for more testing before we can really firmly talk about Redstone. So I probably won't even put FSR Redstone benchmarks in the title of this podcast.
Well, there is no benchmark.
I'll save it for when it's really tested. I know what you think of this, though, Dan.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, do they not know like that their pixel counters exist at this point? Like, I guess I shouldn't accuse Digital Foundry of pixel counting in this video because I don't think they really did. But like,
you mean in a pejorative way?
Yeah. Because I think there's also useful.
You mean like over scrutinizing, not looking at the big picture.
There's a bit of pixel counting in there, I suppose, but I think it was useful to demonstrate like the lower resolution on some reflections that they were showing, and it was pretty stark. And you really didn't even need to pixel count to do it to notice it. I mean, maybe you wouldn't notice it while playing, but it's pretty stark. Like, I don't know, does AMD just not expect that people are going to do that for some reason? Because that's what happens every time a new technology comes out. Other than that, not really sure what to add to this. Yeah, it's not putting your best foot forward to release a new technology and then it obviously being lower fidelity than your competition's. Now, is it because of the new technology that it's lower fidelity? It doesn't really seem so, but that's the takeaway you would get from looking at doing side-by-side comparisons in Black Ops 196. So maybe don't do that and wait for the 10th to actually show off your new technology instead of whatever this was. Yeah.
And I don't have really much else to say about that, except that I was excited when I saw the announcement, and now I am not.
Hopefully December 10th is better, because I guess we'll talk about that on the next Broken Silicon, I think. Yeah.
Yes, we should.
Or the next one I'm on, I should say.
Yes, if anything actually comes from it. Yeah. All right. Let us now move on to story number 5. This piece of content is brought to you by CDkeyoffer.com. Believe it or not, what you are looking at is my co-host Dan putting together his current Zen 4 desktop almost exactly a year ago. Of course, that code for Windows 11 came from CDkeyoffer.com. And we've been using CDkeyoffer.com at Moore's Law Z for a very long time. I use it for my office software on both my desktop and my laptop. And that's because they're reliable. They've always been there for us. And they offer reasonable prices for Microsoft products that are usually set, in my opinion, at monopolistic pricing. And you know, they're actually having a Christmas super sale right now. So if you're looking to get the best pricing on Microsoft software or games or other products on their website as well, please show support for a company that's shown support for the Moore's Law is Dead team and community for years by using offer code BrokenSilicon to get 25% off all Microsoft software and DieShrink to get 3% off everything else. So support Moore's Law is Dead by checking out CDkeyoffer.com today. Valve throws water on Digital Foundry's $400 price target for the Steam Machine, quoting from Tom's Hardware and then Dexerto. Tom's Hardware. Lawrence Yang, a Valve UX designer, further explained that their goal is to match the PC landscape specifically, so that if you were to build a similarly spec'd custom gaming PC, it would cost the same. Then Dexerto, also in this news cycle, reported a Valve dev has said that they want the Steam Machine to be a good deal compared to if you built a similar PC. He also confirmed that they would not be subsidizing the price to achieve a console-style price. So, yes, look, seeing the wild price speculation, Valve has decided to give us more hints to stop both the $400 Optimus and the $800 or $1,000 really doomsayers. First, we have a Valve UX designer who poured cold water on the Optimus. After all, a similarly spec'd gaming PC would maybe be around $600 or honestly $500 to $550 if you could materialize the semi-bespoke parts the Steam Machine will use that you can't actually buy on Newegg, so you really can't build the same PC. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Then Dexerto released information seemingly capping the pessimistic estimates with the contrary information that the Steam Machine is not going to cost the same as a similarly built PC, that it should be a better deal. But speaking of unforced errors, it is nice to see Radeon getting some competition here. That said, yeah, $400 was very aspirational. To be fair, and this was Carbon Cries wanted me to say this, it was only he arguing in the Discord that argued that Valve was going to go for a $400 console from the start, at least publicly. And Tom's reporting, it's what I said. I thought things would probably be around $500 or a bit more. In fact, friends of the channel like the Fox have also doubled down on $500 being a realistic price. DRAM prices notwithstanding, of course, who the hell knows what's really going to happen from that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw this, Dan, like, good Lord, are people arguing over Steam Machine's final price?
Oh, I know. And one of the funnier genres of comments I've noticed, and I think it's funny because I noticed it before I watched the Linus video. I was like, that's why all those comments were saying that. It was him. He made an offhanded remark about like a company buying a bunch of Steam machines, and then he said like he was joking for like an enterprise scale, like, oh, you could just buy a bunch of Steam machines if it's cheap enough. And then I was like, oh, that's why I kept seeing that exact same comment. People were just parroting an offhanded remark by Linus that was a joke. I don't know why. I just thought that was very funny. Joke. Yes.
And they took it seriously. Oh my God.
I just thought that was funny. But yeah, I really don't know what to feel about the pricing. I don't know if I'm apprehensive to say 500 because I'm just nervous about being hopeful or not. 500 feels like a reasonable price to me. But if I had to bet money, I guess I would bet something like 650. Although I don't know if I need to get into the price discourse for a console that's not even out yet. Like, I don't know if they want their console to be dead in the water. It should be $800. If they want it to sell well, it should be, I think, below 700.
Yeah. What I said to Sally, it's Bradley, who was the last guest on Broken Silicon. Very good episode. Check it out. Is when it comes to the pricing, I really had two main points I made to him overall. Is when it comes to the pricing, either Valve bought up a large stockpile of DDR5 a couple months ago, or they didn't. If they did, then they will have enough to make a aggressively priced console-like launch early next year. It will probably then sell out, and they will probably sell a bare bones edition of that console, which I'll want to talk about that more in another piece of content, my idea for that. But it's pretty obvious. I think they're going to have to sell a version of the Steam machine that doesn't come with an SSD or RAM for the most of its early life, while having these other options with RAM and SSDs to, if they can, every now and then get supply, anchor the price, because they won't be able to get more RAM. So, I mean, they're going to have to sell a bare bones version, in my opinion.
Wait, I guess, do we even know that I would assume it uses like SODIMM or soldered on RAM, doesn't it? Or am I wrong about that?
They say you can upgrade it.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Right. So if that's when you do a bare bones edition, I think they're probably going to have to do that. But point being, again, if they bought up RAM ahead of time, they can do a normal launch. It'll probably surprise people with how cheap it is, but then it will sell out and it will be hard to get for a long time. If they didn't buy up RAM ahead of time, I think they might need to cancel this. I mean, it's that simple from what I'm hearing with RAM. Like, they should cancel this or only sell it bare bones and then just sell some versions that come with RAM at a loss, let them sell out instantly, and maybe in 2 years they can finally stock them at a reasonable price with RAM included.
But at that point, you just want to upgrade it, I feel like. But
well, and anyways, though,
like that's what they want to do.
I said that to him, and then I said, I also think a lot of the people that are arguing with people like me, frankly, and the Fox, when it comes to the price to build this, either you believe my bomb estimate that was correct for many other things in the past, I did do this professionally, or you don't. Like, stop making the argument like about subsidization. Stop making these arguments about they couldn't do this because of enterprise buying up. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard, by the way. I do want to cover that real quick here too. Anyone who suggests someone like HP would buy up Steam machines doesn't know or someone, I shouldn't say HP. Anyone who thinks that like a big corporate office would buy up Steam machines instead of buying them from HP or Dell doesn't even understand how these deals work. The main reason, like I think when I worked at General Motors, we mostly used HP laptops. Mm-hmm. The deal wasn't because HP gave us the best deal. It was because they would cover the warranty, the support, the software updates, the upgrade cycles for us, a car company who doesn't want to handle that. That's why they go to HP. It's not to fucking get it for less money. No, they could build their own PCs right now. Right now, they could build one. No. And anyone who suggests that this would like get bought up by companies and corporate offices fundamentally hasn't worked a real job in IT in their life, nor been connected to one. I'm sorry, I'm going to be harsh. You do not know how these contracts work. You do not know why Dell works with some companies, and you need to stop talking about these things you don't understand. They do not just go on Micro Center and buy up a bunch of gaming desktops for cheap. They want specific things with warranties, software support, supply, upgrade cycles handled by a major OEM. That is why they go to the major OEM. It isn't to get a PC for cheap. Furthermore, if they were to all get bought up by big companies, Valve wouldn't give a fuck. They'd be fine with that. They're selling the console. Who cares who buys it? And then there are people who go, but they subsidize it. No, they won't. The BOM cost I put together shows that they could, now as of RAM a month ago, I don't know when they bought the RAM, they would be profiting at like $420.
No,
so they could sell for $500 with a bigger profit than a lot of other things on the market right now. And $600, we're talking about like Nvidia profit margins for some of their graphics cards. So no, I'm not talking about subsidization. And because of that, if they were to sell this at $600, again, assuming they got RAM for a good price, they don't care who buys it, guys.
Now, if they're trying to really save money, might I suggest they use the, I think, borderline scam stuff that's going on the TikTok shop, Tom, because TikTok I've seen as selling a bunch of GeekCom stuff for like $200. So that's your enterprise scale.
And is it GeekCom directly or another company selling it?
The way the TikTok shop works is they don't really tell you how that works.
Because I'm just being honest with you, if they're selling GeekCom stuff for half off, it's because they put viruses on it and they're going to try to
probably.
Like that's a real thing I've been told about in Asia from my contacts in East Asia. That's a racket. They like get many PCs, sell them at a loss, and that's why you should also be wary of any mini PC company from China that doesn't let you buy their stuff bare bones. For example, Minis Forum does, meaning they profit on the device itself. If they don't let you buy it without Windows installed, and all of their products are like that, there's a chance there's viruses on there sometimes.
Might be putting some special software on there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I don't know. I just want to restate a couple of things here and then get to why I think all of these statements came out from Valve in a very unprofessional way, but it's a small company of 400 people, so it's not really that surprising. Yeah. And frankly, let me just say this. The BOM cost I put together is the estimate of what I think it costs them to manufacture this. Yes, before shipping and risk, but my numbers, which matched up with what other firms have, I did the same method to estimate Steam machines BOM cost. I did the same thing with the Steam Deck just to have a control group. And my estimate for the Steam Deck's manufacturing cost was the same as other professional firms, guys. Almost to the dollar, within 10%. It was crazy. So I have a control group even for this. And I did do this professionally. I got to $425. Now, if you say you don't believe me, then this is where the argument should stop. You should just leave the room now, because that's what you're saying. But you're not saying it's impossible. You're saying you don't believe me. You don't believe me. You don't believe Digital Foundry. You don't believe these professional firms. You should probably start your own outfit because you're so smart. Like, that's what you're saying, though. I said $425. I didn't say $600. I'm saying once you add even shipping and some margin in there, they can sell this at a profit at $500 or $600. Again, assuming they got RAM for a reasonable price. That's a big unknown. And so that's what it is. And like, they don't care who buys it. They don't they obviously would prefer a gamer, but they don't care if a firm buys up all of this stuff. But the firms won't, because Valve can't even put out a statement correctly. They're not going to provide a good like upgrade cycle and warranty to these companies. So Valve, it's not useful to them. Could a startup in Brooklyn, New York, buy these up for 10 coders? Yeah, sure. But that's nothing. They don't care if that happens. Also, not just because it's small scale, but also because they're still profiting on each one sold. And that is where I think there's a major misconception here. The biggest misconception out there right now is that people think when I say $500, I'm saying that's subsidized. I'm not. I'm saying that's with a profit, you guys. And then this gets me to why all these statements were made. Statements that Carbon Cry points out in this write-up contradict each other. I said $450 to $600 is what I expect for the 512 gigabyte model. And then Digital Foundry came out and said, who knows, maybe $400. And all these websites ran with $400 as the low end of the cost. And then I think Valve saw that and said, well, we know it's not going to be that cheap, so we have to get ahead of this. And that's all this is. Everyone quotes Digital Foundry because of how large they are. And I've seen companies put out press releases directly responding to things Digital Foundry says because they're worth responding to. They're big enough. It's the same as like Gamers Nexus. And so that is what this is, people. This is not Valve saying it's going to cost $800. This is them saying, whoa, it's not $400. I'm sorry, Digital Foundry. That's what this is.
Yeah, because, Digital Foundry is big enough that when they say something, it's going to spread. Like when Linus says something, it's going to spread. Even if people don't know that they're parroting Digital Foundries, Linus, you indirectly, the Fox indirectly, whatever.
And they quoted me sometimes too, saying even Moore's Law is dead backed it up, although said more,
But yeah, I mean, that it's going to spread, and eventually it's going to be dominating the conversation on Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. And if you have 100,000 people, or millions of people all saying it could be $400, you're going to have a lot of really pissed off people when they see it's $550 or something. And $550, I don't think would be a terrible price for it. So you have to say something. And they're a small company. So.
And finally, because there were some people, in the comments saying that, Valve definitively said this is like $800 or something silly. Jack Ryan, the previous CEO at PlayStation, before the PS5's price was announced, said the PS5 won't be cheap. And then everyone said it would cost $700. It started at $400.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I think people read into these statements people make way too much. Like they think because they said this one thing, it means how they would interpret it. When really, I think all he was trying to say, Jim Ryan, not Jack Ryan. All Jim Ryan was trying to say was it's not going to be $300, which was really kind of stupid because I don't think anyone thought the PS5 would be $300. But I guess he thought he had to say something about that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's all Valve is doing is with all these. And then again, walking back the statements saying actually it'll be cheaper than an equivalent PC, which is interesting because, again, before the RAM price explosion, so 2 weeks ago even, I could build the equivalent of a Steam machine for $650. And when I say equivalent, I mean a graphics card that would probably perform about 30% faster and a CPU that would perform a lot faster. Like I see a lot of people saying, oh, you can get a 9600 on sale for like 160, 180. And it's like, guys, this has little Hawk Point. This has 2 Zen 4 cores and 4 Zen 4 C cores, and it's an underclocked version of this tablet APU. That is what they're using for the CPU in the Steam machine. You can't buy it. This is really the equivalent of like a $100 eBay CPU. And so when I even say $650 is what I could put together to build something better, it's better. It's not the same. It's probably something 30% faster. To build the equivalent, I could probably do it right now. And I mean right now for $550 if I could get access to some of these parts. Some of them you can't even find equivalents because they're so slow. Yeah. So no. Oh, and one more thing. You can't upgrade the graphics card in this. So an argument that this is competing with pre-builts is bullshit. It's not. You can't upgrade the graphics card. You can't upgrade the CPU. You can upgrade the RAM and the SSD. Even the PS5 lets you upgrade the SSD. I'm sorry, like if Valve thinks this is more comparable to a pre-built, it actually isn't. This is more comparable to a console.
At best. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is what we have to say about, and I've seen podcasts now saying, oh, now it's definitely going to be $850. It is not going to be $850. It is not. I won't double down as hard as the Fox did, but I'll say it's not going to be $850.
They want this to fail if it's $850.
It's a nonsense machine. And
that makes no sense.
And I put about a bunch of tweets out that talked about this as well. Like, I think there is with a lot of larger channels, there is a fundamental like disconnect from the common gamer, where they think most desktops start at 1,000. They don't. Even going to like Lenovo's website, they're like gaming PCs start at 500. Like budget builds are $500, $700, guys. This idea that a gaming PC starts at 1,000. And I saw so many tech tubers like, well, this is going to be like an entry level gaming PC, and then they're like, so fucking $800. That is not. I know you're all blinded by your free 5090s you got from Nvidia, but actually entry level is not 800. It's cheaper than that.
Yeah, and entry level has always been like, if you want to spec something out. I mean, with the RAM the way it is right now, it might be harder to do, but yeah, you can start out at like 750 if you're really trying to save money, or 700 if you're really trying to save money. And I don't know, with the Steam machine, it's a non-starter if it's more expensive than I think a PS5 Pro, or at least in my opinion, it kind of is. Like, I don't.
They just shouldn't launch it then.
Yeah,
and again, like, this is weaker than a PS5. This is barely more upgradable than a PS5. This comes with less storage, the entry-level one, than an entry-level PS5 that you can get for $400 as of this recording. So it has a bit more modularity. It has,
it's a PC, to be fair.
Right. Well, yes, kind of. A PC with an 8 gigabyte graphics card that you kind of are required to use SteamOS to have it perform well. So I really don't think it can cost more than $600 and be a good deal. I mean, I think in RAM shortages, if they could sell it for $600, it actually would be a good deal. But that's about it. Anything more, and it's not really that special. And again, if actually the RAM shortages make it so this is hard to sell below 700, then they shouldn't. They should sell a bare bones version for 400, right? Because it's just kind of useless otherwise. And they could make the argument, hey, you got an old laptop in your closet? Get this for 400, pull out your laptop. We just saved you. You know, I still think there's arguments to be made in that regard. But yeah. All right. Enough of the ranting. But oh boy, did I have a lot to say about this. Let us move on now to story number 6. It's kind of an Intel minor rumor mashup. Story number 6, both Panther Lake H and Intel Workstation leaks appear. Quoting first from Tech Power Up. An intriguing Intel Core Ultra 9 386H mobile processor has turned up on Geekbench's browser, as spotted by early morning risers. This forthcoming premium component surpasses AMD's Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 SC by small margin in single core, again suggesting that yes, Panther Lake does have an IPC increase over Arrow Lake. Although Teams Red's 16-core Zen 5 Strix Halo beat it in multi-core. That said, this basically is another Moore's Law is dead leak confirmed, with the leaked Geekbench scores showing around 10% higher single threading than Arrow Lake, which is right in line with where our IPC estimates would be, and similarly better multi-threading. Again, backing up what we said, Panther Lake is kind of like better Arrow Lake using less energy. And it seemed to be in an MSI gaming laptop as well with 64 gigabytes of RAM, so it was likely a high TDP SKU. Hopefully the lower TDP variants will also match our leak and offer similar performance to Arrow Lake, but at Lunar Lake power. So that's the Panther Lake part. Here's also from Tech Power Up on Intel's W890 workstation platform. It has been leaked. The platform introduces a new socket E2 design with LGA 4,710 pins built to support CPUs with TDP's ratings reaching 350 watts. Expert class implementations unlock 112 PCIe lanes. So that's 96 PCIe 5.0 and 16 4.0. Well, the mainstream tier of this will have only 80 PCIe 5.0 lanes. This will support a XCC-based Granite Rapids WS processor with 86 cores and 172 threads, achieving single-core boost speeds near 4.8 gigahertz with 336 megabytes of cache. And so, yeah, the Intel leaks did not stop at Panther Lake. We now have one with Granite Rapids workstation as well. It was revealed by a reliable leaker as well, Momo US. Intel seems like they want to continue to remain competitive in workstation, at least in specs, raw performance, and pricing. Their expert and mainstream tiers seem honestly well matched with AMD's WRX 90 and TRX 50 sockets. The big difference seems to be even that the mainstream option has access to all memory channels. So 2 terabytes of memory and 332 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. Well, that comparison is good on paper for Intel's upcoming workstations. The high-end variant will also have significant memory bottleneck deficit, though, compared to AMD's Threadripper Pro. Normally, we would say that pricing will determine how this battle goes, but today, that's not the pricing of the CPUs, but the pricing of memory. After all, 2 terabytes of DDR5, I don't know, might cost like 10 grand or something for this. So who knows if this will be like, honestly, like Alchemist, the worst time to launch of a new product ever by Intel. But assuming you have a way to get RAM, seems like it might be competitive with Threadripper. So I don't know if you have anything to say about Panther Lake and Granite Rapids Workstation.
No, not much. Just, if they get these to the market fast enough, they'll have a period of time where they're very competitive with AMD, and good.
Yeah. I want Panther Lake to be good. I honestly want it to, I guess I just want everyone to be competitive, everything to be as best as it can. But if you put a gun up to my head and you're like, what do you want to win? Do you want Panther Lake to surprise everyone, or do you want Gorgon Point from AMD? I would say Panther Lake. I want Intel to have a solid win here.
Yeah.
It lights a fire under AMD's ass before Zen 6 launches. And so I'm excited to see Panther Lake, at least so far, is not sounding like what we saw with Meteor Lake, right? It sounds more like a Lunar Lake or better. Now, the bad thing, half of the point of Panther Lake was bringing not just Arrow Lake performance to Lunar Lake power consumption, but doing so in a package that can use easier to source DDR5 sticks and doesn't require the soldered memory Lunar Lake did.
Mm-hmm.
Wish this would have launched before the RAM shortages.
Yeah, and obviously you don't want a situation where an Intel-esque situation when they were on, what was it? Is it Skylake? No, right? For however many generations it felt like they were on that for. You don't want that AMD to get into that level of complacency. So yeah, obviously I would rather see Intel succeed for the next couple generations over AMD. I think that would just be better for the market. But I won't go out and just say buy Intel. Intel needs to be good or you need to like Intel because that's good for consumers.
Just buy the best product, right? Yeah. And overall, again, I put it that way for a reason. Like, if you put a gun up to my head, do I want Gorgon Point or Panther Lake to surprise us? I guess Panther Lake, because Intel really needs it. Mm-hmm. But no gun up to my head. I just want every product, I keep saying this, to perform well beyond expectations and be as good as possible from every company. All righty. Let us now move on to the final story. Usually there's only 6 stories. This has a 7th one, as it is a last-minute Ryzen 7 9850X3D and Ryzen 9 9950X3D2 stepping leak. All right. So before I get to the leak, first of all, AMD, as spotted by OlRock29 on Twitter, confirmed that the 9850X3D is legit and coming. So this SKU should now be taken ultra seriously. Now, point 2, though, after a call with a source of mine today, I got enough information actually to rush out a leak about AMD's new upcoming Zen 5 X3D refresh products. I have no quotes I'm going to put on screen. I just have 4 points I want to say quickly, so pay attention. Point number 1, I can confirm that both the 9850X3D and 9950X3D2, the dual CCD 16-core flagship, have a new Zen 5 stepping. Now, technically, that info is already out there. It was spotted that a new stepping was mentioned with them. But what I can add is that one of my sources in a briefing with AMD was told that this includes deliberate tweaks to improve boosting characteristics. So this isn't Zen 5 Plus, but it might be similar to Phoenix to Hawk Point for these new CCDs being manufactured for these products. This is going to perform notably better, not wildly. It's not Zen 5 Plus, but notably better than the existing Zen 5 models that are out there. Specifically, here's an example. Point number 2, despite the 9950X3D getting dual X3D CCDs, therefore it should have trouble competing with the 9950X in multi-threading, you would think, because it can't boost as high, at least in peak boosts. It should match or beat the 9950X in multi-threading, or at least that's what AMD is trying to achieve. They want this to be a total new flagship that beats everything out there, basically at everything. So I think that's exciting. It's not just that they're going to use the best bins of Zen 5 and kind of get close to the 9950X in multi-threading, despite having 2 CCDs that are usually capped in peak boost clocks. They're actually able to have the all-core boost. If not the very, very peak boost higher, the all-core boost might be high enough that it might beat the 9950X in multi-threading, or at least be close. Also, Another thing here with tweaking, point number 3, I was told you might be able to hit the same or higher clocks. So it should come with peak stock boost clocks, I believe, of 5.6 gigahertz. But if you unlock it, you might be able to hit just as high as the highest overclock 9950X. So who knows? Maybe you could hit 6 gigahertz. Not confirming that, but who knows? And then finally, point number 4, there has been mention behind the scenes, at least around my sources, of a new 6-core coming that will clock higher, maybe with Vcache as well. Not sure if it will Vcache or not, but it is a new premium edition of a 6-core Zen 5, which further suggests that these are new steppings with reasonably new enough yields that they need to capture this as its own product. It's not like they can just take the bad yields of the CCDs of this new stepping used with the 9950X3D to make like a 9600X. They just all perform so much better that it might need to be a 9650X or 9650X 3D. So there you go. These new chips could surprise people with their performance, even if they won't be insane. And because they focus on getting existing AM5 owners to upgrade, by the way, because if you think about it, these are premium CPUs, which means they're probably meant to be sold to people who want to upgrade from Zen 4, which means they don't require new RAM to be sold. These products are going to be a major focus of AMD in the first half of next year, as these are like the only products they can hope to sell large volumes of that aren't affected by the RAM shortages as much. So what do you think, Dan?
I mean, I was kind of expecting these to be a little bit more like, I don't know, idiosyncratic, I guess, comparatively to what's already out. Like they'll get gains in some things, losses in some, but if they're just all around better, this is super exciting. I will say, though, a bit surprised to see on AMD's website the 9850X. Was it called? It's 9850X 3D, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised to see that, because if it's a full different stepping, could almost just see them doing like a very abridged 10 series or something, and then with Zen 6 moving on to the 11 or whatever they want to go with. Or maybe that's the perfect time for them to be rebranding on again.
That's what I was saying. I don't think they can go to the next series because they're probably waiting for a bigger, more substantial uplift with Zen 6 on desktop to switch to a new naming scheme. And so for now, they probably want to keep their existing naming scheme. At least that's what I would assume.
Yeah. I just hope they can clock it faster, because I think there's going to be a bit of confusion if like the 9850X 3D clocks the same, but
no, it is. That should hit 5.6 gigahertz,
okay.
Which is higher than the 9700X and the 9800X 3D by quite a decent amount. What's interesting is I did an analysis video on this. I'm trying to find it right now, have Gerard put it on screen, where I kind of like looked at the 9950X 3D2 and like gave my opinion on like what it means and like what performance it could hit. But like, I know that peak boost clocks probably won't be much better, or they might even be slightly worse. But if you look at all core boost of some of these mid-range Zen 5 products, they tend to top out between 5 and 5.2 gigahertz. I mean, if they can get all 8 cores to hit 5.6, that's actually maybe a 10% boost in performance, and maybe even more in multi-threading. And if they can do the same with I believe the rumor is 200 watt 9950X 3D2, like if it goes from all 16 cores boosting around 5 gigahertz to all 16 cores boosting around 5.5 gigahertz with dual Vcache, which should have some benefits in multi-threading benchmarks. It actually might be a substantial uplift. I still don't think I would call it a new generation, though, unless they did something like it could actually hit 6 gigahertz, or they actually had a new I/O die that lowered latency. That's when I think you go with the new generation.
That makes sense.
So, I think that's exciting, though. And again, I didn't have a leak slide because this was a very last minute addition. Dan, you didn't know about it until basically I just read it right now. But, thought it was worth getting out as soon as possible. All right. Now, speaking of getting out as soon as possible, let's get out of this episode as soon as possible by getting through this wrap up right here. The wrap up, these are the stories that didn't deserve its own like 20-minute conversation, but we do believe deserve its own mentions. What do we have here? So I have TSMC Arizona had a power outage that affected the fabs, and I think it's actually pretty serious. Apple had to scrap some of their wafers. So there's another thing that could be contributing to price issues in Q1 of next year. Also, Samsung is now sampling their 36 gigabit per second GDDR7. I'm trying to remember, but I believe that is the RAM. If I look here, I believe, wasn't this what AMD in my leaked document? Yes, this was the RAM speed AMD was circulating with partners for RDNA 5. And so I think that's interesting. Like, there it is. There's that insane 36 gigabit per second, and now it's sampling. And so you can't put it in any products right now, but that is in time to launch something 2 years from now after it's all validated and stuff, you know. Xbox full screen experience has come to every Windows PC, not just ROG Xbox Ally X. Good. I hope they continue to improve it. Also in Xbox news, Xbox has launched Crocs.
I almost bought them just now.
Did you really?
But they're $80 and they're not available in my size, so nope.
If they were like $40, were you going to get them as a joke?
If they were $40, I was going to get them for you for Christmas.
I would accept. The thing is, I don't like Crocs. I don't know if I would have worn them, but I mean, honestly, I would have kept them. I would have kept them. I would have put them back there in the console section next to the Nintendo and PlayStation stuff.
That would have been hilarious.
Well, yeah. So they don't have them in size 13.
No. Well, they're out of them in size 13. They're only for
that's ours. Me
Hobbit
and Dan's
feet.
Shoe size.
They're only 5 through 7 now.
Oh, yeah. So quite a bit less. All right. Well, I would accept that as a Christmas gift, Dan, if you did get me that. Yes. Nvidia demand is another story here. May double LPDDR5X and server DRAM prices in 2026. Again, this is a reason why I think at first you'll see AMD graphics cards go up in price. Obviously, DRAM for desktop is already screwed, but eventually everything is going to be hit. And that means eventually laptops, even Strix Halo laptops, are going to be screwed. Although I will say again, if you want a Strix Halo product, get it now. Their prices are low, relatively speaking. And I've heard examples of some of my sources saying that like their company switched some of the new AI servers they were going to build. They're just buying Strix Halo.
I really do feel like it is though too. Just like if you're going to get anything besides RAM, get it now because holy shit.
Even PlayStation
everything's
probably.
Gonna be expensive.
Yeah, I think so. Intel Nova Lake NPU 6 delivers 74 tops for desktop AI PCs. This is a leak that Nova Lake, maybe even on desktop, will have a 74 tops NPU. Don't have much to say. Let me know when the NPUs do literally anything in Windows. And also Apple's or Intel's stock price shot up 10% on Friday before we recorded this. Because it sounds like they might manufacture some Apple products. And I have to say, this is another, if this happens, Tom was right moment. Whenever someone would ask me, well, who could actually work with Intel? I feel like Apple was one of them. Like Apple, and then the other would be like self-driving chips for Tesla. Those are my two picks. And so I think this is inevitable that Apple goes to Intel for manufacturing eventually. It's got to be cheaper.
Yeah, and I think and the government's going to want them to do it at some point too. So
yeah. All right. One final reader mail here. Root Knight writes in, on the topic of Intel being bought by Nvidia, do you think Intel may split officially into foundries and design? And if that happens, would Nvidia end up buying the latter? Or do you think Nvidia is going to be forced to shoulder the fabs as well? As the situation stands now, I can hardly imagine any benefit for Nvidia to have the fabs. It's hard to say. I would just want to know what Jensen's strategy is. Like the biggest argument against buying Intel's fabs is you don't want to become a fab company and have that drag down your earnings and like be like a brain drain and like, or should I say, occupy space in your brain when you're just trying to make the newest AI chips or something. So I would imagine he probably doesn't want it, but what he would probably want is to like buy a 10% stake in Intel foundries so that he has some say in what they do. So he has his foot in the door. That honestly seems to be the new move in Silicon Valley is buy a stake in a company, have a board member there who's listening to what everyone's saying. So there's some influence, but don't take on all of the burden in your financials. That is what I would guess NVIDIA would do.
Yeah. Well, and they were also asking about end up buying the latter. Do you think they would end up buying the design side?
Of Intel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this is what's a dark horse prediction? This is one of my dark horse predictions is next year NVIDIA buys Intel design, because right now there's basically no oversight, by the U.S. government for monopolistic moves. So now would be a time you could do it and probably get away with it. On top of that, NVIDIA is just grossly overvalued. I'm sorry, they are. You can say they're not. I disagree with you. Start your own podcast and tell people I'm wrong. Like, I think they're overvalued. And what do you do if you are overvalued and you're overvalued? Well, you basically have a credit card preloaded up with all this money that in a couple of years is not going to have that money. Buy it all up now. That way, when the bubble collapses, you're the last one. It's like fattening yourself up for a drought, like if you're the fat one in town, you don't starve to death. And so I think NVIDIA should try to fatten themselves up right now. So I don't know that they're going to buy Intel, but I honestly think it would make sense for them to buy Intel design now to get that x86 license. And I think they would get away with it. And people would go, well, they can't, regulatory. I think they would find a way to get the FTC to let them have that x86 license, because I think they would argue, and I actually would be partial to this argument to a degree, it would help competition to have more people with x86 licenses. So I think that's the argument they would make.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how that would shape up long term. I would be nervous, but probably better than just that license going away or something.
Yeah, and I think Intel has like multiple licenses. Okay. So there's a chance even the deal could be that they buy this, and then if they get someone else to buy the other one, like, good deal. Like they I don't know who, maybe Apple gets it, or Samsung, or I don't know who. I guess it would probably be Apple is who the government would want to have it. But like they could even make the argument, now there's 3 x86 companies, not 2, and one of them isn't going out of business. Like there is an honestly actually pro competition argument for it too. So I think they're going to try to. I do.
Yeah.
We'll see though. All right, Dan, that's going to do it for this. I'm going to say it again. Girthy episode. Compared to usual, that, but okay. Although we did get through it quickly, but there's action packed. We'll try. Yeah. We'll say action packed, like Skechers puts the S in action.
My favorite ad campaign.
Do you remember that though?
Oh yeah,
I remember seeing that. I was, I think in middle school we were at a mall and I said Skechers puts the S in action. I looked at my mom and I said, "There's no S in action."
Never wanted to buy a Skechers since then. Didn't really want to buy it before. That is when we
never bought them again. But do you think that was an intentional stupid joke, or do you think they actually don't get what that means to say put something in something?
I'm not going to try to guess what that marketing team was thinking, Tom.
Okay.
Probably stupid. I guess I'll say stupid.
I think stupid. I think gun up to my head, stupid. All right. Well, on that note, this is supposedly a gaming hardware podcast. I want to thank all of you for watching, for listening to it. Please remember to like the video, comment down below, pull out your phone and give us hype points. Share it. Sharing helps a ton. Actually, please do share this video. Then also make sure you are subscribed to Moore's Law is Dead on YouTube. I think usually about only half of you watching or listening are subscribed. Double check right now. Subscribe. Ring the bell button, and also subscribe to Broken Silicon on your podcast app of choice. We're part of the Believe Podcast Network. We want to get our podcast numbers up as well. So please subscribe to Broken Silicon on your podcast app and set it to auto download. There's audio benefits to listening to that version as well. So please support us there so it gets recommended on the podcast feeds. That'll bring in more people, not just from YouTube. And then also consider supporting Moore's Law is Dead on Patreon. We just had a deep dive on the OpenAI DDR5 situation. So there's even more content for you there where we do a Q&A with the fans of Moore's Law is Dead and answer every little thing they might want to know about what we think about the AI bubble and that. So you can get another about like hour of that as well. And then, of course, there's hundreds of episodes of Die Shrink as well if you join us there. There's also a Discord with thousands of patrons on there that can talk to you. Including me. I am there as well, and I discuss content after it comes out, and then a bunch of other stuff as well. So please support us on Patreon. We cannot do this without our patrons. There's tiers all the way down to $1.28, the 128-bit tier. So you don't have to. We're not charging a ton. for all of the tiers. And otherwise, this is the part where I forget what I would want to say next. And it's usually because I have nothing else to say, but I'm too tired to realize that. Okay. Dan, any final words?
I don't think so.
All right, everybody. One more time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and have a good rest of your week.
Goodbye.
This podcast was brought to you by the YouTube channel and website Moore's Law is Dead. Moore's Law is Dead and Broken Silicon are trademarks of their creator, Tom. That guy is me, and I am indeed the creator, editor, writer, and showrunner of Moore's Law is Dead podcasts, videos, articles, and other media. However, it's not just me. Moore's Law is Dead is a team, with Broken Silicon co-hosted by my brother Dan, audio editing by Gerard Cortez, renders being done by the industrial designer Jean-Philippe Clermont, and special assistance is also provided by Carmen Cry and Carrie Nosugada as well. Find all of our information at www.mooreslawsdead.com on the About/Support page. In the event you do want to hire me for consulting work, hire Gerard for audio work, hire Jean-Philippe for industrial design work, or you're interested in working with Carbon Cry or Carrie Nosugada as well. You can also find our long-term sponsors on that page if you want to show them some love for putting food on our tables. Or you can also mail us some love. You can send letters or hardware donations to the following address: Moore's Law is Dead, P.O. Box 60632 in Nashville, Tennessee, zip code 37206. Although, to be honest, the best way to show Moore's Law is Dead some love is to support us on Patreon. Patrons are what makes Moore's Law is Dead content truly possible. Every month, and really every day, depending on who you're talking about, me, Gerard, Dan, and Jean-Philippe are working tirelessly to provide a steady stream of content that we could not keep doing unless we knew the work was possible without being reliant on sponsors dictating every little thing we put out. Don't get us wrong. We love our sponsors, but we love directly working for you, our fans, much more. If you have any extra money, even a couple free dollars a month, consider supporting us directly on Patreon. Those couple of monthly dollars will get you access to the exclusive podcast Die Shrink, voting on subjects of future podcast episodes, the ability to ask guest questions, and of course, access to the Moore's Law is Dead Discord full of like-minded people who I am sure would love to meet you. I am one of them. Additionally, higher tiers get access to early, ad-free episodes of Broken Silicon, the ability to ask questions in all Broken Silicon episodes and Loose Ends live streams ahead of the recording, and the entire back catalog of Moore's Law is Dead podcasts, in addition to having thanks in the credits of videos and podcasts depending on the tier, with other perks available as well. And hey, if you cannot afford to support us directly every month, please do share Moore's Law is Dead videos and podcasts with friends and family, and on social media and websites like Reddit, and give Broken Silicon a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app of choice. All of this does really help us so much. But like I said, this podcast would not be possible without the patrons directly providing predictable and reliable support every month. And so now it is time to give a personal thanks to the greatest of the fans. The following supporters are at the 10 gigahertz or higher supported levels: Brad Bedlin, Drita Full, Z Jits, Daniel D, Nicholas Buckner, Aaron Close, Jan Rauner, Toka, MJB1, Daniel Hyde, GZ Ziggy, SNES Chalmers, Jerem Ferrier, Velcom Alev, Jensen Wang, All Shall Be Nvidia, Compressed AI Blocks, Gregorius Hacker, Sarcastro, Kostrich, Evan Dingle, Hal Booma, Shredburb, Samuel Molas, Curry King 3, Chris Enthinos, The Boss Haas, Tommy, Jonathan, Jake223, Jake Martin, Slicky, Gamers Unite, Meat and Pork, Ian Clifford, Amiable Chief, Tim Robb, I Should, Travis Gooding, Zoot Taylor, Mads, Patty Cakes, Greg, Michael McGee, Win Wang, Stephen Coates, Mark Mitchell, James Anderson, Mark Raidmaker, Salty Internet Pirate, Henry Zhang, Wesley Sager, Cameron, Michelle Pell, Exapuma, Teak Autumn, Reginald Ari, Windstar, Little Germany, James I. Raider, Bark, Let's Go to the Lake, Milton, Brett Jones, Chuck Glidden, Stephen Dick, Mac Daffy, Justin Bustle, Austin Haggerty, Joe Foote, Brian Scanlon, Hardland, Brian Wright, Jensen Angima, Slushpaw, John Swin, The Forbidden Juice, RB Racer, Matthew Castells, Alex Vega, Solarized 80, Elbergun, Keekum, Sprutnik, Brian P, Hudat 42, Cornster 671, Penta Winta, Dan M 1988, Omega Doge, John Wick Boomstick, Hugo, Under Kiwi, Mr. Tiger, Penguins, Love AI, Porcelain Notes, Nick Zeusmania, Smash Axley, Charles Russell, Kareem El Masri, AI Soldier 789, Bespoke exclamation point, Ryhill, Cheap Bulls, Fred Berger, Kevin Kuntz, Magnolis, Rag Kusis, Jonathan Harris, Kalin, Raichel, Kainush Kagani, Truna, Johnny Trans, Zubar, Ahmed, Josh, AO, RK0, Penguins, NKVD, Angel of Cake, and of course, thank you to Sahara for the music.